Hey everybody, welcome to our very first episode of Insightful, a movie review show brought to you by Little Mexican Productions. I'd like to welcome everybody watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter. Please share this on your page so that other folks can watch with you. If you're watching us on YouTube, scroll down, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And we are going to be co-hosting this show. And hopefully, but.
And as you can see, this is the pilot episode. It's already showing. I wasn't, because I don't know how long the intro theme music is. And then I'm trying to think, we need to get new music. There's so much. It's so amazing how much little pieces come together to make a show seem fairly streamlined. And it's kind of neat having that feeling right now of like, oh God, this is the first one. So Lord knows how it's going to
go. So just to give you all an idea of what the show's about, our Insightful is a movie review show. And what we want to do is we want to highlight some of those movies that have influenced Christian and I over the years, and hopefully our guest co-host, movies like, and the movie that actually inspired the idea was Steel Magnolias. And Christian, you want to tell them how that came up for you?
Yeah, it's interesting. I watched Steel Magnolias like about a month ago. And for the first time ever, I realized, I'm like, Truvy, who was played by Dolly Parton, her character is like, doesn't have a great life. Like, and when you really look at the comments and the things she says, like as a background character, or as not a background character, but
ensemble
character, you get these little bits and pieces of like this woman's struggle with her life and struggle with her husband and her unhealthy marriage and her unhealthy relationship with her psychologically unhealthy son. And I just realized no one ever talks about these auxiliary characters who aren't. They all contribute to the main characters and leads stories, but you don't realize, like in Steel Magnolias, she was a really well-developed character for being part of the ensemble, and I think that goes on in other movies too. It's just I've watched it so many times, I finally wasn't paying attention to the main character, to the leads, and I was actually looking at all these sub characters, these like Daniel said, ensemble characters. And Truvy, I just go, she's so sad. She's so lonely. She's so desperate for affection and love. And she loves her little shop. But, when she talks in there, she gives away hints of her dismay or her unhappiness. But it's like everyone just glosses over, or something happens to one of the lead characters and it distracts everyone from what she was saying.
Right. So a
lot of her catchphrases are, if you really listen to them, you're like, ooh, they have a sad edge, or they're edgy.
So we will be talking about Steel Magnolias further down the line with the shows. But again, this is our pilot episode, so we want to see what works and what doesn't work. One of the big things about the show is that we want you to contribute. And tonight's movie, the first movie we're going to launch with the pilot, is called Sordid Lives. I'm going to scroll down. The names you see down at the bottom are some of the actors that were part of the movie. These are the main characters. It was a really good ensemble movie. And the reason we wanted to do this movie as our pilot episode is for this gentleman. You will recognize him as soon as I pull up his photo. This is Leslie Jordan. For those of you who followed Leslie Jordan's career, he passed away in October, but he was a big influence in the LGBT as much as the recovery, Alcoholics Anonymous groups. And he also participated in HIV and AIDS awareness programs. So in honor of him, we're using him as our godfather to launch our show today. And we really do love his character. So I'm going to read you a little bit about the movie so that you can understand what Sordid Lives is about. First of all, Sordid Lives came out in 1996 first as a play. And then from that play, it went on to be the movie, which was in 2000, Then it went into be a TV series in 2008 with 12 episodes. And then in 2017, I believe, there was a Sordid Lives movie, which was a Sordid Wedding. So it's gone through different stages. And just side note, Del Shores, who also does acting classes, I took a class from him in Dallas. I drove from Houston to Dallas early in the morning to get there in time. I was so tired. I completely bombed the class. I was like the worst of the worst. And then I had a chance to interview him like 10 years later at an award show. And I redeemed myself. He let me do a little scene for him, and it was better. But let me read to you a little bit about Sordid Lives. Sordid Lives, as three generations of a family in a small Texas town gather for a funeral, we learn the hilarious, sad, trashy truth of the Sordid Lives. Sordid Lives, where is it? Sordid Lives is a 2000 American independent romantic comedy film written and directed by Del Shores. The film tells the story of a Texas family coming together in the aftermath of the matriarch's death. The screenplay is based on the award-winning 1996 play of the same name by Shores. According to the director's commentary DVD extra feature, it includes elements of his life. Sordid Lives received mixed reviews from mainstream audiences, but became a cult classic with LGBT fans, particularly in the South. The film was followed by the 2008 television series, Sordid Lives, the series, and the 2017 film, A Very Sordid Wedding. Now, because we want to talk about extra characters within the film that maybe don't get noticed the way that they should, we're going to talk about those characters. And if you know the movie and if you have any comments, please join the conversation. Chris is going to start with his favorite character of the movie.
Yeah, my character is played by Beth Grant. Her character's name is Sissy, and she is she opens the movie. Basically, the movie opens in her kitchen. She's putting some fried chicken down on her kitchen table, and she's like kind of primming and moving everything around on the table to make sure it looks just right. You learn very quickly that it is her sister, her older sister, who passed away, who the funeral is, the whole movie's central point is the funeral is for. But the way she died is a little questionable and morally ambiguous. So, but she doesn't seem to care. She is a smoker, but at the moment in the beginning of the movie, she has a rubber band on her wrist, and she decided to stop smoking the day of her sister's funeral. And one of the funny phrases she says is, "If I'd known, my sister was going to die today, or I was going to be at her funeral, if the funeral was going to be today, I wouldn't have stopped smoking today." She says that quite a few times because her nieces start to come over and show up, and then her neighbor comes over whose husband cheated on her, and that's Delta Burke is the neighbor, and the husband that cheated on her is Beau Bridges. Del Shores is the director, and he based her character on one of his actual aunts who lives down in Alabama, and on the family land in Alabama. Interesting fact: Del Shores called Beth Grant before the movie was started shooting, and he told her, apparently they're friends, and he came out to her on the phone saying, I'm a gay man. And she goes, even though he's married with 3 kids, and I think he had one on the way, she goes, it was so amazing to have him honor me with this coming out to me and telling me. And there's a very interesting, Del Shores is actually a very interesting character. And but he did base some of this on his family. That she also based the way she acted out her character. She based it on her own grandmother too, because her own grandmother is in the South, in Alabama also. Now, yes, the story takes place in a small Texas town. I don't even know if it's real or if it's fictional, but in a small Texas town. But it's interesting that the characters that they based the development of Sissy on are based on Alabama characters, Southern Alabama characters. So I thought that was very interesting. I just found her. She starts off not smoking, flipping that rubber band. I mean, every time she does it, you just wince with her because it hurts. And she is kind of passive. She's passive aggressive, and she's passive too, like a combination, a weird combination. Dying for a cigarette because that will balance her out and let her emotions get a little more under control. But when her first niece shows up, or no, I'm sorry, when Delta Burke shows up, her neighbor, and she's just all upset because she knows her husband is the one. Her older sister who died was actually died while cheating with Delta Burke's husband in a seedy hotel on the other side of town. And Delta Burke's husband has 2 wooden legs from the knee down. And apparently she got up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and she tripped over those legs and fell down and hit her head and died in the hotel, in the seedy hotel. And so the whole town knows, everyone knows she did this amoral act, and she was supposed to be so moral and so clean and so Christian, and that she took another woman's husband and slept with him in this seedy hotel, and it all got out. And so her the first niece that shows up is what's that? Latrell. And Latrell is quite a piece of work. She's like the perfect, like her mother. She's trying to be a perfect Christian woman. And she also happens to be the mother of another main character who Daniel mentioned, her son, who is out in California trying to be an actor and trying to come to terms with who he is, his sexuality. But Sissy, they come over and they're just like moaning and groaning to Sissy, moaning about stuff that has nothing to do. Like, she reminds her nieces a few times, you know, your mother is dead, and you're talking about, this or that or something else. Like, the mother's death is irrelevant or isn't important for that day. And it's very funny because as much as it pains you to see her snap that rubber band, if you really watch, that rubber band gets stretched higher and higher every time she snaps it, because she is getting more and more anxious and wanting that cigarette. So, and oh God, I could feel on my arm, just she's getting high. That commitment to your character, she was really doing. You can't fake that. And her wrist was getting really red too. And she just, every time she's like, I had to give up cigarettes yesterday. I had to try to give up cigarettes now. And then everyone goes over to her table. Everyone who comes, Latrell and her sisters, they all go over to the table and they start eating. They start with the apple pie. And this is supposed to be for after the funeral. This is like food for the reception after the wake. But no, they're eating all the pie before they even leave for the funeral. And then they sit there and everyone, Delta comes over, the neighbor, and she eats a piece of chicken, and then she takes like 3 pieces of fried chicken back to her house with her. And then Latrell comes over, and Latrell has a piece of chicken and a couple pieces of pie. And it is just, and you just see Sissy seething behind all this, watching these people destroy this table, which at the very beginning of the movie she was setting up so beautifully. And you just see her, and she says, like, after, like, behind everyone's back, she'll be like they'll be like, oh, blah, 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 and she'll be like, damn it, shoot, and she has glasses on and everything. So she's just, that's where the passive aggressive part is, where she's not really telling them how she feels or that she's upset with what they're doing. But that changes. And the good part is her character gets out of that passive aggressive mode, but not till like really towards the end of the movie. Because she is the only character who, when is it Brother? It's Brother Boy?
Brother Boy.
Brother Boy. When Brother Boy shows up at the funeral, they all, like Latrell and her sisters, get up and they try to keep him from coming in. And she gets up and she finally puts her foot down because she's had it. And she's all, let him stay. I can't do the accent right. Yeah. I'm not from the South. She's
quite a voice of reason there at the end of the movie.
Exactly. And she's the only compassionate voice for Brother Boy in that moment. Wow. So I thought that was very cathartic. And I love that her character you see this character early development all the way. She comes full circle to, I'm done. I'm done being nice. I had my cigarettes. I went and bought. Oh, there's a great scene where she's just buying, like, what is it? 5 or 6 boxes, like cake
No,
cartons.
it goes to like a dozen boxes because the girl keeps going
Clean
32.50, 32 or something like
Yeah,
that.
like they were like expensive, like 30, like she's all
That was
32.50,
expensive,
32.50, 32, and
which
you're just
reminded
like,
me. It reminded me how expensive smoking was when I used to smoke. Just to put that out there.
oh yeah,
I particularly one of the things I liked about Sissy though is that she becomes. Let me show up her picture again. She's rather
she does the whole movie too. Movie.
she's she's kind of I mean, she doesn't seem to be a central character, but she becomes a central character because everybody has a connection to her. Everybody comes to her for their problems and stuff.
And I think that's where I think her sister was the glue of the family, but since she died, they're all kind of turning to her, and she's an unwilling glue. She doesn't want to be the glue.
She doesn't want to be the glue.
To be, and I just get that sense that that's why she's just like, like, she doesn't say anything right away because she realizes that's what's going on and that they need that. But in the end, she's like, I don't want to be this, but it just gets transferred. The title transfers.
Cool. For everybody watching, we'd like for you to be part of the conversation. If you watch the movie Sordid Lives, which we have here, this is our pilot episode of Insightful, a movie review show. And today we are reviewing the movie Sordid Lives. We just watched it recently, and one of the main reasons we decided to talk about this movie is for Leslie Jordan, who passed away recently. This is Leslie Jordan as Tammy Wynette in the movie, and his character's name is Earl Brotherboy Ingram. Let me tell you a little bit about the character that I particularly like, Juanita Bartlett. Juanita Bartlett, and here she is basically the town drunk. And usually the town drunk is a guy, but in this case, it's a woman. And her scene starts at the bar. She's at the bar the whole time until the funeral, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. But it comes up to her. She's seeking attention, and she wants to be part of the conversations, although they never include her in any of the conversations. They kind of just talk at her, not to her. And one of the reasons that her character spoke to me is, for those of you who have followed us for a while know that I'm a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. And the first time I saw this movie and saw her, it reminded me of me when I would go to the bars and get drunk and looking for attention and hoping somebody would, I don't know, talk to me or save me. Ladies and gentlemen, he was. Oh, really? We didn't know that. Well, that's a good trivia. I did not know he was in a Friday the 13th movie. But Juanita, she's right there with the guys, and she's trying to be part of their conversation. She tries to get attention. In the movie, you see where she takes her opportunities to sneak a beer from the cooler, or just it's cigarette after cigarette. There's a lot of smoking in this movie, but it was such. When I first saw it, it was such a reflection of who I used to be, and trying to get that attention and trying to work the bar and manipulating it somehow. And towards the end of the movie, she goes there at the funeral, and she's the one that has a beer in her bag, and she's drinking at the funeral. I found her interesting because even though she wasn't acknowledged a lot, she still would say certain things that puts the conversation forward. People would not like. It's like she would say something and people acknowledge what she said, but wouldn't acknowledge her. And I thought, what a sad character that she continually tried to be part of the community, but she wasn't taken serious. And I just thought that was really sad for her. Can't hear you. Oh, you're muted.
I apologize. You can almost see that she used to be probably a beauty, one of the pretty girls in high school, and just the years have got, years, we all age, can't help it. And I always got that sense like she was used to being the pretty girl who got the attention. So now that she's not that pretty girl anymore, she's the old lady in the room, she still acts the same, but doesn't get the same response. And I always thought that was really funny because she'd walk up and say something and they'd act like she wasn't even there, like she didn't say anything.
I'm sending you a note. But for those of you that have not seen the movie, we encourage you to check it out. It's let me put up the poster again. Sordid Lives, and it even says on the poster. Let me take the banner off. It says on the poster, a black comedy about white trash, and really that is what it is. Leslie Jordan, this is Juanita, and Cece. Check those out. There's a side story that happens that kind of culminates at the end. Their son, and I think his name is Ty Williamson. Ty Williamson, the son in the movie, and spoiler alert, we want to put spoiler alert out there. Ty goes off to be an actor in Hollywood. And his mom, Latrell Williamson, doesn't want to admit that he's gay to anybody.
Or to herself.
Or to herself. And in the end, we see him in therapy. Isn't that where the movie starts? He's in therapy.
Mm-hmm.
And he's talking to his therapist about coming out. And he's a big Hollywood actor, and he got fired from a soap opera. And then it goes over to the town that they're in and talk about that story. But the interesting thing that connects it all is Brother Boy, where is it? Earl Brother Boy Ingram gets locked up by his mom when they found out that he's gay. And he gets put in asylum. And apparently he's in there for like 20 years.
Yeah, I think 20, they said 23 years or something like that.
And
amount of time. And his mother wouldn't, they told her he can leave now, but she left him in there. She didn't want to deal with him or have him embarrassing her. And you get that from the storyline that she was embarrassed by him and his faggotry.
And now that the mom's died, it's like, well, now he can get out. And there's part of the movie is the debate between the sisters, like should we get him out or not?
Or should he be allowed to come home? Yeah,
and the reason we show this picture is because he does Tammy Wynette impersonations throughout the movie. And by the way, in the end shots, that the last part of the film, he looks amazing in the hair and makeup.
And he walks really amazing in those heels too. He does the total stomps out that walk.
I'm going to give that to Leslie Jordan. He had an amazing girl walk, so that was pretty cool.
And then he gets to say the final line of the movie to his mother's body, which is pretty cool. It's a really good line.
So for anybody watching our pilot of Insightful, this is Insightful Sordid Lives. We're going to do this show every 2 weeks, bringing up new movies that have influenced or inspired the LGBTQ community along with health issues or health issues. And we're looking for people to come and join us. If you have a favorite movie that you'd like to talk about, message us on whatever channel you're watching us and tell us what movie you want to watch or want us to watch. We'll watch it and we'll announce it. And you get to come on the show and talk about it with us. We want to invite you to be a co-host on the movie. So whatever movie you want to talk about that has inspired the LGBTQ community and or talks about health issues, we will discuss them. We're also going to talk about movies like Steel Magnolias, Pretty Woman, Thelma and Louise, because they all have somewhere along the way they have an undertone, and we want to discuss those movies and how they influence. We chose for the first movie, Insightful, for our first show, Insightful, Sordid Lives, mainly because we wanted, I guess, what is it called? Post after they die,
Post-mortem?
Is that what it is? Like, we wanted Leslie Jordan to be our godfather for the show. particularly because it was not just this movie, but most of its characters were so influential in the LGBT community. And Chespirito, there were some undertones there. If we want to do a Spanish show, we can do a Spanish show. But we want to invite you guys to come and join us. And just to recap, Sordid Lives was originally a play in 1996, went on to be a movie in 2008, did 12 episodes as a TV series in 2000. 2000 was the movie, 2008 was the show, and then came back for Sordid Lives, The Wedding, in 2017. It's writer and director Del Shores, and these are the actors, the main actors that were part of the movie. So you can go check them out.
It's
you can
really,
find, huh?
I was going to say it's a very impressive cast, actually,
Yeah.
for a movie that was super small budget and didn't really do very well in the theaters.
No, it actually it was divided between the critics. It's now become a cult classic, so people watch it, and you can find it. Let me go back. It's
on Amazon.
Yes, it's on Tubi, it's on the Roku channel, it's on Amazon Prime, on Vudu, Apple TV, and Hulu. We watched it on Hulu for free, so you can go check it out there. It's not a very long movie, and it moves pretty fast.
It's pretty short movie.
But again, thank you for joining us. This is our pilot episode of Insightful, a movie review show where we'll be talking about movies that influence the LGBT community as well as health issues. And we don't have our movie for next time yet, but don't you guys find it usually movies that don't do well in the box office? Yeah, they usually do. There's a lot of those movies.
They become cult classics.
What is it? Jawbreakers was not a good movie.
Oh gosh, no.
But it did great.
But even like everybody knows it.
Rocky Horror Picture Show did not do well, and it's a cult classic. What other movies? Little Shop of Horrors was a good play. The movie didn't do well, but then it went on to do really well. So yeah, there's a lot of movies like that. Those are the movies we want to talk about too. So let us talk about that.
You know, a sci-fi movie would be Space. What is it? Starship Troopers.
Oh.
You know, it had an impressive cast. They were all young. That was a movie that launched a lot of their careers, but it didn't do really well in the theaters, but it did exceptionally well afterwards. It's like it's a cult. Everyone in sci-fi has seen that movie. Now, of course, it's famous for the nude shower scene. And the background on that nude shower scene is none of the actors would do the scene actually really nude, which they all were genuinely nude in that scene. They said the only way we'll do it is if the director is nude with us on set when we're shooting.
Oh.
He had to be naked too. And I think it was, I can't remember the name. But he got naked too. So he was naked off camera, but he was completely nude, hanging out with them while they were all nude in the shower scene. So I thought that was an interesting thing. Like they made that deal. They said, if you're nude, then we'll do it. But if not, then no, we're all going to have the polite cover. So I thought that was pretty crazy.
But yes, Charlie brought up Hocus Pocus. Hocus Pocus did not do well at the box office, but
it's like, and again, everybody knows it now. And everybody loves the song, you know, that song that she's saying, The Spell, with all the parents dancing. It's just like, it's crazy how movies can do so poorly. And then they, you know, like a year or two later, well, now with streaming, months afterwards, once they go to streaming, everyone loves them.
Yeah.
And so I just wonder what changes.
I don't know. But we invite you. We'll be posting what movie we're going to do next in 2 weeks. Remember, it's every 2 weeks. So stay tuned. Make sure you follow us and stay tuned for any invitations. We're going to take the last camp. Put a spell on you. Yeah, that's the song. For now, we're going to leave you with the poster.
The director was Paul Verhoeven.
I feel like the show has hit a brick wall.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Lee.
Mr. Gay, thank you for joining us. So for now, we're going to leave you. Make sure you go check out Sordid Lives. If you didn't go back and watch this video. It'll tell you where you can find it. We'll be back in a couple of weeks with another movie. If you have an idea for a movie for us to do, let us know, and we will make sure to look for it and watch it, and then we'll review it. And remember, if you request a song, refer a movie, you can be a guest host here with us, and you can give us your comment on why you like the movie. That's it. Not a full hour. No, we're going to leave it at an hour today, and we'll be back next time with the full hour. We'll talk to you folks then. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.